What's up there, Workforce? Chris here.
Brian here.
And we are here in the middle of a 14-hour broadcast. We're not going to be live for 14 hours, but those crazy people over in Japan putting on a wonderful show for us are. And the first big section after a long introduction, introducing the team and reminding us of the schedule and reminding us that nothing but the live letter here is really meant to be taken too seriously. This is meant to just be about a good time for the community. Is this live letter, and we are going to do our traditional live letter coverage for the 65th live letter. For anybody that doesn't know what a live letter is, these are the regular communications from the devs. There are some patterns to how they lay out, and this one is going to act as a summary of everything we've learned about Endwalker so far, with a couple of new details mixed in there.
Yes.
But they surprised us with an introduction that had no introduction. It jumped straight into video footage that we thought, maybe, was they replaying the trailer? And it was the benchmark. The official benchmark. And for anybody that is mid 5.0 story, I'd say it acts a little bit spoilery because you kind of see some characters and all that. For anybody in ARR just picking up the free trial, it's just a bunch of shiny stuff like watching an action movie. And for anybody that has finished the story, go do this. This will be available for download and will be a chance to see how your system handles Endwalker. Was it last time only available on PC? And it becomes available this Sunday. But over on YouTube, there is a clip of it, so if you want to go watch it in all of its glory,
4K,
you can go
60
do that.
frames a second. Like, that's how it's set up on YouTube, so you can take full advantage of it. Now, we've decided we're not going to show off all the spoilery screenshots here. I'm going to scroll down just in case, just to protect your viewing experience as we summarize the rest of the live letter. We'll put out another video diving into the actual video footage, talking about that here pretty much right after we're done filming this video. So if you're excited about that and you want and you're not worried about spoilers, we just want to try to make sure that as we have a lot of new people in the community, they're protected, you know?
Yes.
So,
yes. Obviously, we're here, and Hoopo's in chat, and I'm sure Harry was screaming just as non-headphone friendly as we were. But we also have Biscotti here in chat, and so we have people that are here in the community enjoying 5.0 for the first time and have not quite finished. Keep in mind that when we get this is your chance to see the new character creator. So this is going to give you a chance to see those male Vieira, see the new Vieira hairstyles, and go through that yourself. So I think last time you could actually save your Roth and Vieira things, right?
yes.
So could you
Every time
those?
they've done this, you can actually save your appearance. So if you want to pre-game it and you want to have that appearance saved so you're ready for the 19th of November, if you pre-order, which...
That way you speed levelers that also want a Fantasia can do both.
Absolutely.
So they did open up by saying, we did start the live letter with some pretty images. It was a lot more than that. So that 4K 60 frames over on YouTube is worth a watch. But with that, the official benchmark launching this Sunday, it was time to get into some real news here. The CEO came out and talked about them investing money in servers. They weren't sure if that would be up for 6.0 because the game has now crossed 23 million players. That is not live, current active players. That is players over the history of 14, people who have been here, people who have left. But still, that's another million from last time. So you have to assume most of those people are still around.
Oh, man, yeah. And beyond that, though, is that they're obviously commenting on just this surge within the player base. So it just continues to be good news in the realm of Final Fantasy XIV. So obviously, FoxClan, if you guys have not seen, I'm sure you'll probably see plenty of memes. Well done. Well freaking done. Absolutely.
Way to level it up. He started dressed as a beaver and said he may have to take off the helmet at some point because it's too hot. He took it off and had beaver face paint on underneath.
Right.
So absolutely incredible. So what we start off every single expansion by saying is that this expansion will come with an entire single-player RPG's worth of story content, and this one is no different. We will start the 6.0 summary, potentially going into a little more detail, and as stated, this is going to be the end of the Hydaelyn Zodiark story, which means, for any new players not knowing what that means, the game will continue on, but we are bringing to a finale all of the story from 2.0 through 5.55. Years of story at this point where we sometimes resolve things and we sometimes don't will be coming to a conclusion. So you have a chance now to binge the entire, all 4 seasons of Final Fantasy XIV. Get going. They are long and enjoyable so that you can be here with us to experience this. And this will be the most story quest we have had in any expansion so far, with the most cutscenes, the most voiced scenes, and the biggest volume so far.
Absolutely, man. Well done. Cannot wait to experience it.
As with every expansion kind of this far, we are going to be getting a main city. We know that. They've already shown us. Old Charlan will be the same as our Shadowbringers, Crystarium, and before that. So we always get a main city and then a secondary city. And so they've shown those pictures of Radzahan, which will be the same as our Yulmore, before that, Ralger's Reach. And so there's always a primary city and a secondary city. They've always performed similar roles, so I don't think this is going to be any different. We will get massive new areas. We've seen some screenshots of these in the past. Some areas are going to be, they've talked about being afraid to leak things, but we knew this stuff. There have been questions. They said there have been questions around the Ishgard restoration content that we got to do as part of Shadowbringers. And will we get a chance to rebuild Garlemald in the next expansion? So will Warriors of Light are nice. And when we see a city that may or may not be broken, we would want to rebuild it. And so we've gotten that comment a lot. And then he just never answered it. So he just said, a lot of people, if any of you have ever seen Bernie, and they say a lot of people forget about the Panhandle. And then there's East Texas. And so he just moved right on. Of course, with the 2 new jobs, we are going to be explaining why people would move into those jobs and why we may have a friend becoming a Reaper. He put quotes on the word friend, so take that as what you will. He was using a crazy looking ability at the end of the benchmark that we showed. Take a closer look. I don't think you'll have to take a closer look. I believe I screamed the first time I saw it. So then they remind us, new high-end raid. For everybody that has played Shadowbringers, obviously the Alliance raid series this time took what would traditionally be a huge portion of storytelling and shifted that. In my opinion, they did a great job kind of taking that story and trying to inject it in Roll Quest, trying to inject it in the Relic Quest, trying to tell more story, because they took that and sold about near. This time we're getting our high-end raid series Pandemonium and our Alliance raid series Mist of the Realm as a chance to tell 14 original stories.
Now we need to talk a little bit about Pandemonium for our veterans out there. Traditionally, the raid, the normal version of the raid when an expansion happens, is 2 weeks from launch. So 2 weeks from November 23rd, with an additional 2 weeks for the Savage tier. However, even later in this live letter, just to kind of put it out there in your mind, they showed off some timelines with events and things like that we'll get into in that section, especially when it relates to all the different holiday events that will be going on around the same time. But on that list, he said, we do not have dates yet for those raids. So there could, this is Brian speaking, not them. Just put an asterisk that just because it's happened that way in the past, we don't necessarily know if it's going to happen that way again here. Obviously, COVID is still going on and affecting different people. So just wanted to put that expectation out there, at least if nothing else. That's how it usually has worked. But don't, if it doesn't work that way this time, be okay. Because we're going into also multiple holidays. So anyway.
Yep. As a statement going into the instance content, they said, we hope you enjoy the new dungeons. We put a lot of effort into their design. Of course, you will be able to enter them with Explorer mode later on, kind of our G-pose. Go do whatever you want in there. Take cool pictures. And that he did say, just as Brian described, with your normal and Savage modes being released with 2 weeks in between, get ready to raid at Christmas. So he confirmed it. They did not give specific dates, but they are aware. Holiday raiding is something that has been an issue with these delayed expansion launches. So this will be the Myths of the Realm. Remember, our 24 mans come out on the 0.1, 0.3, 0.5 patch. So Myths of the Realm will not be available until 6.1.
Excited for that one. I'm so excited for that one. Anyway.
So they did remind us that new beast tribes will be playing an important role in the story, but they can't go into detail. They never can. And we've already seen pictures of these new beast tribes, the elephant people and our little baby bunnies there, and cool looking stuff. The Magus sisters have been in Final Fantasy IV, but these are different. There have been a lot of people speculating about Anima. I'm looking at them, and I'm very fascinated by the theories. So once again, him saying, you're asking questions, and I'm not going to answer them. They're in the last stages of the graphics design. They're almost done. Yoshi P, upcoming in his schedule, has 253 hours reserved for upcoming just for the first check on things. He'd like to possibly post some screenshots on the forums when he does his late night checks, like always. But he's done just talking about things. It's getting boring, so let's show off the class sets for all of the jobs.
Freaking awesome sets. So right now on screen, I've got the Paladin looking obviously very stellar right from the trailer itself. So if you want to be rocking that Paladin from the trailer, you have that ability. Warrior, Chris, you're the warrior. Why don't you talk about it? Is this something that looks really good for you, or where do you fall with this one?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to look really good on other warriors. My warrior will remain a pig, but what are you going to do? But they're good looking sets. They really, really are.
Dark Knight looks like they lost a little bit of weight. Like that's I think the comment that you were making.
Yeah,
This feels a lot like Cecil to me from 4. Like if this feels much more Cecil Dark Knight going into Cecil the Paladin. So that's just where I get the theme from the Dark Knight there. And Gunbreaker rocking an eye patch. I thought that was really cool. You're also seeing the male Vieira representing the Gunbreaker here in this case. So it looks like Thancred used a Fantasia. So what can you do? Someone's gonna be like really mad that I made that joke. All right, then going into the monk, looking like honestly, I wish I was more of a monk fan. Monk fans, sound off in the comments if you made it this far in this video going monk hype. And then you have your dragoon looking. I like the look of the spear here. I'm really excited to see how that how the dragoon
looked real good in the benchmark. So it's really neat to see. They got a chance to show off kind of all the jobs a little bit. I think we even saw some of the new actions. We don't really know what they do. But they look neat. There's some ninja and some samurai. The samurai actually has like some punk level like eyewear going on, and that was actually the headpiece. That they went over.
Oh yeah, so it's like it's very very goth emo in that regards, but that hair looks sick. Speaking of hairstyles, they did say new hairstyles are coming for the Vieira. And they said they apologize that it has taken so long for that. We do not have confirmation on if hairstyles are coming for Roth. That was another question we were getting. We do not know that officially yet or not, but I just want to put that out there. And then some more zooming in on that goth style hairdo. I'm just kind of showing off the additional one. So there's more information that you want to start diving into, Chris. I'm going to be just showing each of the images.
Yeah, we've got our bard. They did on the machinist show off the robot. They said that remember that of course is not part of the gear, because our question was immediately like, wait a second, does that mean that there's going to be sets that change that? No, man. They're just showing it with it. And then I really like the dancer's weapons, which they of course noted. Looks like that hurts. I thought the dancer weapons looked neat. And then Black Mage looking very witch-like, and them joking Black Cat not included.
No Black
and then
Cat there.
Showing off Summoner. Obviously, with the Phoenix here, there's been a lot of questions about what's happening with Summoner. So, even reading into cosmetics, people are like, does this tell us anything? Does this show us anything about what could be changing, what possibly could be changing? After an interview recently saying that the reason they didn't want to work on Eggy Glams is they don't want to develop a glam for something that might change. Not confirming a change, just kind of like making us ask more questions than we may have started that interview with.
Yeah.
Red Mage looking very red. The healers, in my opinion, just look very healer. They said the White Mage one changes a little bit for the male version, but the healers, in my mind, just looked very on brand. So there you go.
Yeah, no set here standing out as any duds. Like these are all, I think, looking really phenomenal in that regard. So hopefully you see your favorite job and get excited, and we go from there. So all right, pick it back up, Chris.
Now, obviously, we knew with this expansion we are getting a new small-scale PvP mode. We believe it to be bigger than the arena and smaller than the larger stuff. We don't really know anything more than that at this point. New residential districts in Ishgard. We're going to talk about housing changes in just a little bit. New updates to the Golden Saucer. That always gets mentioned, and it can mean anything from a new gate to something much larger. So that's an incredibly vague statement on its own. I wouldn't read into it too much. Island Sanctuary, this is a really anticipated feature, and the fact that it just says Island Sanctuary is 2 words is about as much as we know. So there's a lot of speculation around this feature, and we are actively looking for it. Obviously, we're getting a new data center, Oceanic, that they said will not be there for launch, but we're very excited for Australia, New Zealand, that region of the world getting a chance to have their own data center. And what that means for even parts of the world that are not supported by their own data center is that they're not done investing in this game. So that's a huge deal. That's a huge reminder that when we talk about things like stat squishes, new data centers, new servers, things like this, where they're going back and they're investing in technology, those are long-term decisions. So for people that are worried with the 6.0 story wrapping up and 6.0 just being a new story, are they just building up a finale and they're going to just cut the game off? No, these are decisions that should give us absolute comfort that this game really is here to stay, and they're not just saying that. Data center travel, we know that that's coming. They did mention that data center travel is going to be region locked at first. I think that makes a lot of sense to come out of the gate and test it and make sure NA to NA, E to EU, and JP to JP is where that is at first. So you will not, for example, be able to visit JP from NA. I think that makes a lot of sense. It was something that you and I talked about initially, is like, I don't know why people are saying that it's not going to be region locked. And if that's true, I don't know why they're doing that. I think region locked makes a lot of sense early on, just because like here in NA, for example, all of our servers are located in the same spot. So you can, if you're having troubleshooting issues, you know that ping or an ISP type thing is not the issue because we're all routing to Burbank, California.
Yeah. So shall we talk about the housing changes?
Yes.
So, guys, they're going to be developing a lottery system for housing. We've got first come, first serve wards and lottery wards. So, of course, that you need to meet all the requirements, so you can't join on a free trial. So, you also have to deposit the gil in advance for the lottery. This is huge, guys. Essentially, yes, you still have your first come, first serve. You want to go click on a sign and try your luck that way. And then at the same time, being able to just sit here and say, here's my money. You call me when my ticket's up. Like that, I think it's such a much better, or at least something where
deposit your gil in advance. Cannot join in on a free trial account, which wouldn't matter because they cannot hold the amount of gil that a house costs anyway. We also made solo wards and free company only wards that we can freely swap around and can adjust the settings based on server and population. So like all of it.
Chat's asking, is it traditional lottery or auction? And they didn't go into that. But.
I mean, I personally would love to see it be a little bit of a silent auction where that kind of makes up for that fact, like that we've traditionally had these prices kind of tick down over time. That way, if somebody just bids the minimum price and nobody else wants it, they can get it. But with any of these systems are all they're all hypothetical anyway, because the price has never been the distinguishing factor of who gets a house and who doesn't. For those of you that didn't follow my Housing Savage journey, as I streamed the vast majority of it, clicking on signs every Monday for 6 to 8.5 hours straight for a total of 73 hours. And I have been told over and over, I'm incredibly lucky to get a house so quickly and easily. So 73 hours to spend my money on a house. This system is in a massive set of changes. So even before they said that the changes were coming, I didn't see any way these changes could do anything but improve it. And I still feel the same way. Mm-hmm. This is massive. For any of the new players that feel that 3 or 4 million is the hard part, it's not that 3 or 4 million is not hard to get. I have plenty of guides out there on how to make that much money. I put out a guide at one point that as of that time, I calculated that with very little effort, you could have 30 million gil by the expansion. I put that out over on Gaming Kinda. And so I understand the initial work if you're somebody who's never had more than 500K. Trust me, no matter how hard that is, when I say that's not the hard part, that's not because I'm saying that's not hard. It's because I'm saying after that, you're quickly going to go, wow, I worked for weeks to get this money. Mm-hmm. And now that's just the beginning.
Right. So after this, they went into reasons for downscaling, going over and just detail how the numbers work. And then essentially the thing that I took away, like do we want to summarize more of the downscaling?
Yeah. For anybody that hasn't lived through downscaling in a game before, downscaling happens for a number of reasons, usually centered on the fact that things have gotten out of hand. So at a certain point, the numbers start to get big enough that they start to cause bugs. They cause issues for systems like Enmity. They cause issues for flying text, the text that comes out. They cause issues when the enemy health bar becomes hard to track. They said theirs was getting up to the point where you had to have 440 million health on a single boss. I assume that's Deliverum Savage. And so it just gets really, really big and hard to deal with. So a lot of questions about this are like, well, what's going to happen to me? He said, well, we're going to start limiting the increases in gear stats between level 50 and 80. And overall health attributes and damage values will all be reduced. But enemy health points and damage will also be reduced, and experience points will also be reduced. So the question is, well, am I just getting weaker? The same adjustments apply to players, allies, and enemies. So the content isn't meant to get more difficult than before. The only time there's going to be an exception to that is if you were fighting an enemy that was scaled to 500. If your gear's 500, it's no different. But if you were at 530, you may notice that you're not getting quite the level. It may take it just a little bit longer now. And so they're going to have to go back, and to make sure that undersized parties work okay, they're going to have to go back to gear stats and make sure that they can add a small buff to that content to compensate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's interesting going on that small buff. Now, anything prior to level 50, so like that's not getting touched at all. So it's everything pretty much from 50, upwards. Obviously now through level 90, that's all getting that kind of adjustment. And that way that just kind of makes sense, because I felt in the 50s like it wasn't out of hand, and then it has since become a little bit nuts in that regards.
Yeah. So people ask, like, well, what's going to happen to my big numbers? I want my Fire Force hitting for 50K. I want my Despair hitting for 100K. He said, well, if the baseline damage was 100K, it's now going to be 20K. Strong attacks will still feel strong. The numbers just have to scale down. And the reason for this is that these numbers are going to continue to jump up again over 14. So this may have to happen again. We have to think about things like this because we want this game to continue for at least another 10 years. So off of this, it's also time to talk about belts. What's the plan? Belts are getting removed in patch 6.0. They're no longer going to be obtainable in item exchanges or duties. Crafting recipes are getting removed. So what happens to my belts? Well, the belts that are in your inventory, just going to stay there. All of the belts that are currently equipped in your armory chest or in a retainer are going to go to a Calamity Salvager. If they have materia on them, that will remain on them from the Calamity Salvager. But the Spirit Bonding is going to go away on those. So if you want to extract materia off of those, you need to do that before 6.0 hits. But basically, they wanted to make sure that any players that did not prepare for this will not have to. So if they said, I won't lose anything if I'm lazy, and Yoshi said, yeah. So belts will be able to be desynthesized. Belts can be sold to vendors. Belts will be able to you'll be able to kind of get rid of them at your pace. They were never cosmetic anyway.
Yeah, I held on to a couple of things from 1.0. Chat's talking about like how many people will be belt collectors. And like I held on to some stuff for 1.0 for a long time, and eventually it was like, all right, I guess it's time to say goodbye to that shield.
Yeah, I still have some abilities on some bars with red lines through them, so there is something kind of fun about that. Rip protect. So where are these going? Well, there's 35 inventory slots in each aspect of your armory chest, and so by removing belts, we're gaining 35. 15 of those are going to go to rings because we wear 2 rings, and so we need more. And 15 of those are going to go to primary weapons, because any of you that have ever thought about doing an extreme or crafted weapons alongside any of the relic type stuff or anything like that, that's a disaster. And Yoshi B said, well, Yoshi B, 15 times 2 is only 30. What about the other 5? And he said, well, we're holding on to the other 5 and we're reserving those for potential future patches. I can still calculate. I didn't forget about my math. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, schedule time. This is huge. First of all, currently, we have a Fat Black Chocobo event going on through the end of August. Mm-hmm. Don't want to get off in the weeds about that, but if you want to go support somebody on that list, go do that. You have until August to find somebody on there and get that bird if you want it. During that same time, we have a free login campaign that is ending right around the same time. One says 23rd, one says 24th. I don't know if that's just a time zone difference. Those get so close, it's a global game. I store those in my head. End of August, good enough. Starting Monday, July 19th, the Make It Rain campaign comes back. Oh, that is our Foster Festival. That's what, like plus 50% MGP or something?
Oh, it's nuts, dude. Like, it's a great time to rack up gold saucer.
You're going to want it set aside at least 200,000 MGP for the September thing we'll talk about here in a minute. So do that then while it's easy. We will be getting patch 5.58 Tuesday, July 20th. This will be a new feast season and miscellaneous updates. What is notably missing from this is data center visit when that was originally speculated to be. We don't have a date on that yet. It was never officially confirmed. That was all based on leaks, and that would be and a statement by them that said that would be the sort of thing that might be in that patch. It was never officially stated, so this is a reminder that is not stated there. We still don't know for sure. Making it into August 13th, we will be going into the Moonfire Fair. That is our summer event. So making your way, I think it's Costa del Sol, little beach party. Let's have a good time as we go into the end of August, right? Coming out of those campaigns. Those campaigns are ending just in time for the Rising. This is our anniversary event.
Absolutely. I love the Rising event, and I'm happy that we're getting one this year, as always.
Yeah. And now, why did I tell you to set aside 200,000, maybe 300,000 MGP? Because September 13th, the Final Fantasy XV collaboration event is coming back. Now, for anybody that wants to be able to complete that again, they did go ahead and reset everybody's progress, which means you're all going to be able to complete the quests again. It also means for any of you that completed the quest last time and didn't get to buy the 4-seater car from the vendor will be locked because you'll have to recomplete the quest, but that was the best way to do that. So you'll have to re-clear the Final Fantasy XV collab event. If any of you want to go out to Blackbrush and do that again, it's all available. That'll give you access to the shop, but then you're going to want to, during that event, go buy the car before it's gone again. This is one of the easiest to get multi-person mounts we've ever had in game. Have your MGP ready and be ready for that. Now we're getting into finding out the real Endwalker news. In September, no specific date, there will be a media tour.
Yes.
So it will be held remotely. Media tours are where they invite media outlets ranging from, content creators all the way up to things like IGN and Kotaku. And they invite them to come spend a little bit of time with a very specific aspect of the expansion, and they reveal some information to them. They put them under an embargo, so they're not going to be able to tell you what they know until a specific date, and then there's a big media blitz. And so we don't really know much about that. Just know that if a content creator gets selected to go, I believe so. Last time we were on the list to get invited, and I believe last time, once we were invited, all we could say once we were there is that we got to go. Like, I think other than that, like, we couldn't say anything else. People thought we were just selling it because they're like, well, everybody's just acting like they're in a good mood. And then when the videos came out, they're like, oh, they're just so positive on it. They're just shilling out for Square. It's like, no. Shadowbringers is looking really freaking good, guys. So if people are excited, just know that might just be that Endwalker is going to be really, really good. Tuesday, October 19th, Moogle Treasure Trove.
So obviously you'll reference that the 19th is also a date that we're getting for November. So a month from, 1 month out from the early access to Endwalker, Moogle Treasure Trove returns. And I honestly am very excited about that. I love that concept. As they build into the next patch, the next expansion, it's just a way of kind of incentivizing different rewards for going and doing a bunch of different things. But that's when that is kicking off. And then obviously Endwalker early access for those who pre-order on the 19th of November, and then the game fully launches on the 23rd of November.
October 19th is around the time we get the job action trailer. Right. That is also...
That would probably come from they announced the producer live letter. The next the live letter schedule. Let me just scroll down actually.
That slide about the treasure trove, that is around the time we will be able to show 6.0 battle changes.
So the producer from the Letter from the Producer Live 66 is scheduled around September, which will essentially be the battle. Like, that's typically when they'll show that off. However, whatever the people who are part of the media tour will be able to do deep dive gameplay stuff from what they've captured, etc. That might be, sometime after. We don't know when an embargo and what they're planning, but just note that most likely that's going to be in mid-September, because the next producer from the Letter Live is in early November, which that basically starts revealing information about how like early access and more of that. So there's those two aspects going on.
If you want to play that other 4 days or get access to the 30% extra 80 ring up to level 80 for your battle jobs, get that pre-order in. They said that the pre-orders for Shadowbringers compared to Shadowbringers are already up 160 to 180%. So that will be exciting. Remember that a lot of this, like when we're presenting kind of our expectations for these things, these are based on expansions past. We've been covering this game for, as of August, 5 years now publicly. We've been playing this game I've been playing it for a fair bit longer, but Brian's been playing it since like the beginning of time, in the time that we try not to speak of. And he has loved it since before then. Brian has loved this game since its very origin point. And so a lot of this comes from that, but this whole rollout is very different. So there are going to be things about this that don't roll out the way they did last time, because nothing about coming out of COVID is exactly the way it was before. After we are in the expansion, we are officially in as of November 23rd. November 30th, we are getting All Saints Wake. This is our Halloween style event. Remember last year we did not get one. They referenced that in the winter event.
Mm-hmm.
And the Starlight Celebration, they did clarify that's not Halloween, it's All Saints Wake. December 15th, we'll be getting our Starlight Celebration. You'll notice in there they don't say anything about the raids yet. And then going into January 1st, still haven't mentioned the raids by name. We'll be getting our New Year's event, Heaven's Turn. So he said, of course, there will be raid patches, but we'll go into details on those at a later date.
Yes. So, and Summer Raid kicking off on the 19th of July. That's Make It Rain, and you can see here on screen just essentially all the different like things that are happening in order for the seasons, and then obviously for the content, for the events that are happening. I'm really happy All Saints Wake is making a return. It was obviously very missed this last year, and it made sense that just how that all shook out. But that's coming with the Endwalker expansion. And then they showed off the character creator in this regards, showing off Male Vieira and so much more, varying different options. And all of this, guys, if you, again, always thanks so much to the Reddit translation team going through and putting all this together, but you guys can go check out all these screenshots if you want to dive in more. You can see that the male Vieira are a little bit shorter than the female Vieira, and I think somebody in chat said it's because they're not wearing the heels.
So, that's why we couldn't find them.
Yeah.
They've just been too tiny this whole time, guys. Look at all those hairstyles. So hopefully that helps. They did, like I said, like Brian said earlier, they did apologize for that. So, for that taking this long, but definitely look forward to the benchmark. Something definitely worth going and getting hyped about. Definitely worth getting hyped about.
Absolutely. And so, and again, that benchmark is going July 11th. So you could be literally a couple hours from the time you watch this video if you watch it when it's live. From here, Yoko Taro came on, and essentially, obviously, I think it was a really good interview. I think, just in the sake of time, because we're already at 34 minutes on this recording, the highlights are Final Fantasy XVI leaks. You can go download it right now. I'm just kidding. They did tease some Final Fantasy XVI that the English voice acting is almost finished, and it won't be at TGS. So I thought that was like...
Yep.
That was good information to know.
And obviously, with the voice acting being done, that means the story is done. And that all came out of Yoko saying, well, I'm applying to be the scenario writer for 16, and Yoshi P going, well, we're already done with the scenario. And then later going, oh my gosh, I've just said too much. And Yoko said, well, that was really what I came for. I just came to see if we could learn more about 16. So Yoko, obviously the ultimate troll, baiting that in. When will we find out more? So the next live letter, scheduled for mid-September, showcasing battle-related updates alongside the media tour, remembering that they've already set aside a time later to go over more of the battle changes. So a lot of times around the media tour, they may say things, I believe last time they said things along the lines of these potencies are still due to change around testing. So don't let the potencies drive it, right? Let the core concepts about what's changing drive your excitement. The potencies are still up in the air. Sometimes even ability names or whatever, if they wanted to. At a recent interview, Yoshi said they hadn't even, as of today, as of when that interview was given, finished up the ability names. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then in early November, we'll be revealing additional information prior to early access. Typically, part 2 of live letters are about 2 weeks out from the content. So if I had to put an educated guess based on the past on this, I'd put this in that first week of November so that it's 2 weeks prior to early access or 2 weeks prior to official launch. One of those, basically right to the day.
Yeah. Well, if they do that and they do it on a Friday as well, just like they did this one, it ends up kind of playing out. Then we probably might get some more trailers, or who knows what they'll end up putting into play. And I mean, at the end of the day, like then they start getting into merch, and as always, like lots of crazy stuff that's probably Japan only. If you guys want to get some, if you go over to Japan, they've got some kind of dark pepper, white, tartar sauce chicken.
Yep, and you're gonna be able to get screenshots out of your benchmark. So be sure they're gonna have a screenshot campaign. They're always excited about, kind of hype for hype.
Hype for hype. So that's the live letter. Like we were blown away. Obviously, the benchmark is huge news. I was not expecting it, just based off everything else. But the fact that you guys can go check that out for yourselves, it'll be great. People have asked, will it be on PlayStation? Most likely not. But if it is, great. But the idea is it's also testing out your PC, and guess what? All PlayStations are going to run the game. So, there's the benchmark side of it shouldn't.
They're not in danger. They can test your PlayStation for you.
They have.
It's a set amount of hardware.
So,
they've already taken care of that. But obviously, it would be exciting to be able to go into Character Creator and make your own thing and have screenshots and see it on your screen with your character. But that's it, man. Are you super pumped?
Dude, this was actually a much bigger live letter than I was expecting. I got a lot out of it. I'm really excited. Honestly, if it wasn't so late at this time of recording, I just want to go play the game. And
I've streamed 12 hours today at this point, and it's 1 a.m. here almost. So any of our lack of just utter joy is purely due to biology. I could not be more pumped. This is everything I wanted from this event, other than what the heck is Island Sanctuary? Like, what is an Island Sanctuary? We knew we weren't getting that. I'm just saying, what I wanted.
Why don't you lead us out since you let us in? We'll just do it all reverse style today.
Yeah, thanks to everybody here watching us live on Twitch. If 6 more of you lurking in here that haven't hit the follow button, hit it. We will hit 14,000 followers, which is absurd. How many of you have been hanging out with us live this year? Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful journey. We will continue to share it with you as we hype for Endwalker. We'll be playing other games along the way, but a lot of that is because we are just waiting for Endwalker. I don't see how anything could take me away from November. I have already told my family I am just going to just assume I'm out of town and don't come knocking on my office. So with all of that, thank you guys. My name's Chris.
My name's Brian.
We'll see you next time.
Take care.